What if positive beliefs were actually equally as limiting as negative beliefs? They're just harder to spot. And so from there, what we can do is realize, wait a second, source is actually made of infinite possibility. So is anything actually what I perceive it to be, or is it actually infinite? It's actually infinite. So if it's infinite, what perspectives can I hold and choose that would actually hold the greatest possibility for me and all of humanity?
Welcome to the MINDTRX Podcast, with breakthrough ideas to live your best life possible and how to make it happen. I'm Paul Scheele, and today we will be joined by Rikka Zimmerman. Rikka Zimmerman is a beacon of empowerment, guiding highly sensitive and talented individuals to embrace their gifts and align with Source. Driven by boundless love for humanity, Rikka is on a soul-driven mission to guide humanity back to love. Her innate gift lies in channeling the infinite, wondrous, and magical consciousness of Source into practical systems, tools, and processes that empower her clients to manifest profound miracles in their lives. Hello, Rikka. Welcome to the MINDTRX Podcast. Thanks so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Well, I absolutely love your work. I've explored it through Instagram. I've looked at your website. I've talked with those who have been through your programs, and I loved your book. I love your music. It's so delicious. And I really appreciate how wholeheartedly you live into your life. And we're going to be exploring the ideas in your ebook on the belief paradox. But before we get into it, if you would tell me a bit about the healing journey so our listener can really come to understand how you came home to that awareness of your true self.
Very good question. Well, like all of you guys, I was raised on this planet with parents that are much like yours, I'm sure. We all have ingested and, brought into our consciousness all of these paradigms, all these collective consciousness paradigms. So, I found myself buried in judgment, buried in negative self-belief, feeling trauma from childhood, from my father passing away at 11. I also felt like I didn't have a great relationship with my mom. My little one actually knew that she hated me. So there was a lot of energy to be released in my life. And I found myself really loving this spiritual journey because you get to ask questions and you get to change your life, and it's really up to you. So I love taking my power back. I was hooked from like moment one. And one of the biggest transformations that I've been through on my journey was being diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma cancer.
Yikes.
So the doctors had given me about 8 weeks to live if the treatment didn't work. And it's an amazing, horrific, beautiful, awful, poignant, powerful, it's everything under the sun when you get diagnosed with something like that. You get to face the end of your life before you reach the end of your life. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anyone. And there are many paths home to Source, the true self. But this was a very powerful one for me. So I had 7 brain tumors in my head. I had tumors in my liver, my lungs, my kidneys. Basically, I was about 7 pounds of cancer inside of me, and I weighed about 110. So when I got this diagnosis, I think everything under the sun comes up. And what I find with people's things that happen with their body is it's really about their relationship with God. And the feeling that I got in going through this is, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. God, why are you doing this to me? Right? Because it's your body. Your body is actually made of Source. Now it does have all of the consciousness that we've placed in it of separation. So it's not really reflective of God, but that's the idea, right? So you're feeling like, why did I deserve this? What did I do? And why have I been abandoned and all of that?
So in essence, what we're trying to do is put meaning on some experience that we think we're having in this physical world, right? So I have clients have had diagnoses, not unlike the one that you've had. And
Mm.
some changed what the doctor said and said, that's not how I'm going to go. And others who succumbed to it. So this is a pivot moment where you recognize that there is something unfolding that's beyond your conscious control that you want to try to get some kind of conscious control over, right?
Well, I think it was actually about the control of surrender.
Mm.
So in this process, I went in front of the mirror every morning and I said, "Little one, how are you?" And she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so scared. And oh my God, I'm so angry. And oh my God, I'm so hurt. Why did this happen?" And really, it became all this information of separation from source came up to actually be released. So every morning I would ask her, I would cry it out, let her tell her story until it became spacious. And then I would bring myself into my divine awareness and bring all of that love and healing energy in. And I did that every day. And through a blend of Eastern and Western medicine, I've now been cancer-free for 9 years. So
Wonderful.
I know. And it really opened up a whole different level of my teaching and my awareness and where I live. And, it was a really wonderful experience and also really challenging at the same time.
Well, this idea of bringing, first of all, a spaciousness and expansion so that another awareness could come in and pouring that in there, it seems to me that the way you describe it is what would love do here in this
Mm.
place of separation. Could you say a little bit more about that process of bringing divine awareness and healing into any space where you might feel separation?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing you would need to do is release the separation that's there. So there's 3 really easy questions that you can ask any energy of separation that will begin to bring it up and help release it. And that is, what are you most afraid of? And then you feel through, breathe through, and release through those energies and those belief patterns, right? And then what are you most hurt by? So you can bring that up. And then what are you most angry at? And when you ask those 3 questions, those are the 3 energies of separation. It brings up all the beliefs and all the energies of separation. And then you get to feel through it and breathe through it and release through it. Once you've released the separation, for me, I have a process of really going all the way up into source, into true self. And then, connecting with that love and bringing that love into that place where you were feeling separate. And part of it has to do with really rebuilding the relationship between that part of you that felt separate and who you really are, right? So if the little one, I call him the little one, was feeling abandoned, it's like, hey, I'm never going to leave you. I love you and I'm always going to be here loving you so that you always feel loved. And they go, ah, right? So it's, what does this part of you need from you that would actually heal this separation and return you to love? And a really powerful question, so you can go through, bringing those pieces in, is, sweetheart, if I was here loving you with all the love that I am, and I never wavered, would that be enough to let this go? And little one thinks about it and then goes, actually, it would. Yes, it would. And the two of you, these 2 parts of your consciousness, the part that's feeling separate and the part that's divine, realize the same thing. I am the self. I am the answer. I am the love. Right. So, what would love do here is a question that kind of opens up. Well, let's see, God would be loving to me. So, I'm going to be loving to me. All right. So, what would God do here? Well, God has already forgiven everybody and everything. We all have infinite possibilities and free will. So, how about I forgive everybody and everything? So, you can ask that question to receive a depth of divine awareness that you can bring into these parts of your consciousness that aren't yet living there. Does that make sense?
It does. And
Yeah.
I love the way you mark it out with your hands too, because the little one that's feeling separation was in your left hand, which is often associated with our past, the what's gone. And in your right hand was the wholeness, the future self, the future, the true awareness. And it's recognizing in that gap between those two, what is the unifying force or energy that could bring it forward. Now, You did say those three questions, and I wanted to store those mentally and actually expound on them just a bit. Could you go back through those questions? It was
Fear, anger, and hurt.
anger, and hurt. What I love about this is because all of us are born into the world vulnerable, helpless to take care of ourselves, right? And as you say, we have to step into or inherit the belief systems of the culture that's raising us, the culture, the religion, the education system, the family system. So this is the complex in which we try in the first phase of our lives to really define ourselves. And when the world isn't responding in a way that we like, this idea of fear, hurt,
Hurt and anger.
and anger. So what's lovely about it, getting into that, what is it that you're afraid of? Well, as a child, I was afraid of all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that hurt, like, what is it that's hurt you or feels hurtful toward you? And when we name that, there's something quite potent. It is that it no longer really has the power to hurt us if we can name it. Would you say that that's the case?
That can be very much the case, I feel, for fear, because fear itself is scared of itself, right? So it's kind of hiding in a corner. And so by naming it, it can come out of the closet and just begin moving through you. Hurt, maybe that plus being willing to feel all the way through it, release all the way through it. Because sometimes the depth of hurt includes grief and pain. And I mean, it takes a bit to really invite all those energies and the depth of those energies to come into the space.
Mm,
And then anger is an interesting one too, because people have a hard time getting to their anger because their culture and family and parents have made it bad and wrong. And then on top
to be angry.
to be angry, yeah. So
Okay.
then what happens is if you've judged it, you've put it into a box and now you can't be it. It's separate from you. Yet that anger itself can actually be used for good. That anger, when received by love or turned into source, it starts working for you. It becomes this very fierce love that protects you. So, embracing those three energies, if you look at every feeling you might have as a human, frustration, it's going to have a little bit of anger, some hurt. And then what are you also scared of? I'm scared it's going to be this way forever. So if you ask every single emotion that exists, you'll find elements of these three things. And these three things actually represent the whole myriad of emotional content.
Yes. Well, okay, that you've made a statement in that, which is worth listening to a whole bunch of times, I think. There's this idea of judgment, and we're going to explode this idea of judgment and its relationship to beliefs in just a moment. What I'm thinking about is if I have excess belly fat, and I look at this and I see it in the mirror every day, what I do is I think, I want to get rid of this. This is not what I want. I created it. It serves me. It's helpful. And there's something else that represents good health to me other than excess belly fat.
Mm,
So whether it's a disease that's seems to have hold of me, whether it's a weight issue, whether it's a financial issue, whether it's a relational issue, there are always going to be these three elements that are going on.
mm.
And this idea of eliminating judgment is pretty much, as far as one of my teachers says, impossible. We're always going to be judging as long as we're alive. Judgment is the way in which we create the world. This, not that. It's that, not this. So we're creating our world based on judgments, and judgments become a trap and around the system of beliefs. So could you Let's get into your belief paradox book a little bit. It's uncovering the 5 transformative secrets behind what shapes your reality. So if we could start with this idea of what is judgment, what is beliefs, that might set the stage for what we can talk about further.
Yeah, absolutely. Interestingly enough, I would say judgment and beliefs are actually the same thing. In the beginning, you might feel like you can only really look at judgment because judgment kind of has a negative connotation. So it sticks out like, oh my God, I'm judging my body as being fat, or I'm judging my thighs as being fat, or I'm judging what I just said to a friend and I think I'm so bad and wrong. Like you should feel those kind of more upfront, right? But really, any belief includes a judgment of what reality is.
Yes, in your book, you say all beliefs are self-judgments.
Yes.
So it's an intriguing idea. So
Yeah.
a judgment and a belief can't exist without the other. Is that true? Or a belief can't exist without a judgment?
Yeah, they're both the same thing.
But you're saying they're exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's just they're
All right.
different kind of layers of it. So a belief kind of can be coded in things, but it's still a judgment of what reality is,
Okay.
right?
Reality is this, and it's not that. That's my conclusion, right?
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
conclusion that I'm making based on experiences that I have.
And I think one of the most important things to recognize about doing something like that with your world is that these judgments or beliefs, they create an experience that matches the belief. Okay. So in life, you guys might be feeling like, well, I'm in this experience and it's the experience that's the problem. I'm having a negative experience with my friend and I don't want to have this. Well, what if it was actually the belief about whatever you believe is negative in regards to your friend that's actually creating the negative experience?
Okay, so as an example in your book, you talk about abandonment
Mhm.
and how that then affected relationships going forward.
Mhm.
Until at some point it didn't. But
Yeah.
could you give the example? Your father died when you were 11, and so
Yeah.
you came with a strong feeling to a conclusion, a judgment, and therefore a belief. And that then shaped your life. Could you speak to that story a bit?
Yeah. So my father passed away when I was 11. And so I grew up with this feeling and belief that every man that loves me leaves me. And then I proceeded in my 20s to date all kinds of men that were definitely leaving for sure, that were never going to stay in the first place. Right. And I was also very chemically attracted to them. So, because of this separation within me and every man leaves me, and I feel scared about it, hurt about it, and angry about it. That's the energy that powers those beliefs, right? I walked into all kinds of relationships that included, somebody abandoning, somebody abusing, somebody leaving, somebody not really being loving. And I was very attracted to that because the polarity inside of me went to go act out that pattern with another being, right? Another person.
Another way of saying that, the energy in you was looking for a vibrational match, right?
Yes. And also, Source Universe is always playing out any separation we have to try to bring us home. So the quicker I experience men leaving me, the quicker I'll feel my dad leaving me, and the quicker I'll feel where I believe Source has left me, and then the quicker I'll come home to Source, right? So part of the journey of Source serving us in the highest is bringing us these experiences that our soul actually needs to get free, right? To free our consciousness from that separation and enter back into the self or the love that we are or source.
Mm.
So all of those were serving me because that was my feeling and that was my belief system. And as I experienced it, finally I had a man leave me in my late 30s that I thought we were really going to get married, etc. And at that point, I finally felt it was actually after cancer. I could finally feel that scared of being left, that, anger of being left, and that hurt of being left. And now I don't feel that way anymore. I don't have thoughts or beliefs or ideas about how, my boyfriend's going to leave. It doesn't even enter my consciousness. So these things that we thought were so real that we lived within are now gone. So it's like, how real is a belief or a reality or whatever when it just dissolves and you're like, oh, I don't even go there, right?
So there's this idea of, well, is this just a belief or is this reality? And this is where the distinction between the medical profession saying, oh, what you have is stage 4, it's 8 weeks to live, you're out of here, to the point of, all right, so sources brought me to this moment to take a look at whatever this is about for me so I could heal the separation. Fundamentally, the world is always being presented, or source is always presenting itself to us to bring us back home to heal the separation. And it doesn't mean we have to end our lives to get back to source. Source is always meant for us to live this life as fully as possible. Am I on the right track?
Absolutely. Well put. That's amazing.
So when everybody around you is saying, well, why are you pursuing this healing process? Shouldn't you just be preparing for passing?
Mm.
Sometimes the belief systems of all those people that care for us are being triggered.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Those are all coming to their awareness and they're looking to us to help heal their separation. So when you become a teacher of this work, you came to realize that when you're in front of people, you're actually perceiving their projections of themselves onto you. Could you say a little bit more about that and how beliefs work and how we encounter the beliefs of the world?
Yeah, let me bring up an example. I think it'll make a lot of sense for you guys. So, when I first began teaching, somebody would come into my room that had a lot of self judgment and had this kind of belief paradigm of everybody hates me, everybody's going to reject me, nobody likes me. So, this person would come into the room. And before the class, I'd be standing up for God and love and universe. And all right, God, I give me my heart, my mind, my body, my soul. Let's do this. This person would come in and I would be like, I don't like them. And I'm like, I didn't choose to think that. What's going on here? Right. And so I would go to the bathroom, I'd excuse myself, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, let it go, let it go. You're working for God. What are you doing judging this person or rejecting them or not wanting to call on them or wanting to exclude them? Rikka, come on, you're a spiritual teacher. Like, get on board. Right. And then finally, after realizing that experience happened over and over with different people with the same paradigm, I was like, wait a minute. Is this my judgment of them, or am I aware of their judgment that they're projecting out?
Mm.
And I was like, oh, that's their projection. And then once I realized, oh, they're broadcasting their belief system, and actually everybody is broadcasting their belief system, then it gave me the opportunity to be able to override people's belief systems. So somebody broadcasts out, reject me, reject me, reject me. And I go, hi, nice to meet you. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Do you know you are making my day? Just you walking into the room, and they're like, what? You weren't even supposed to see me. You were supposed to reject me, right? So when you're aware that you're aware of these self-judgments in other people, you can make choices that actually help them heal their separation and enter into source.
Wow. That's such a great recognition on your part. I just love it completely. So this gets back to the idea of recognizing whatever belief we're holding at that moment. And we say there's negative and positive, and a lot of people understand there is a self-defeating element to negative beliefs,
Yeah,
right? And so a lot
absolutely.
of people put work into shifting a negative to a positive. But you say something important in your work. You say all beliefs are a trap that keep you from receiving what you truly desire. Would you explain that? I mean, positive and negative. They're both truths.
Yes, absolutely. And so first in your exploration of consciousness, you might figure out, whoa, these negative beliefs they're not working for me. And the main thing is to realize, these negative beliefs are creating negative experiences. Do I want a negative experience? No. Okay, then throw out the negative belief, right? There is no point in the universe to ever think, I don't like this or I hate this, because
Mm.
you're setting yourself up for a negative experience you're about to experience. You've told the universe and your consciousness, I would like to experience hate when I'm in the presence of this. I would like to experience negative when I'm in the presence of this, right? So negative beliefs are pretty easy to spot because you get contracted. You're like, whoa, what's going on here? I must have a negative belief here that's creating this negative experience. But when you begin looking at positive beliefs, they're a little bit tricky because they feel kind of good, right? You're like, this amount of money I have is right. It's good. It's keeping me safe, right? So feels really good, right? Except, what if that's also a belief in judgment that actually creates a glass ceiling to how much you can actually receive? Because if you're right, good, perfect, it's exactly what's meant to show up, it's keeping you safe and all of that. If you have that projection onto anything, God, its source universe is that's made of infinite is going to stop and go, wait, hold on. They're set in their world. They don't want more. So, what if positive beliefs were actually equally as limiting as negative beliefs? They're just harder to spot. And so, from there, what we can do is realize, wait a second, source is actually made of infinite possibility. So, is anything actually what I perceive it to be, or is it actually infinite? It's actually infinite. So, if it's infinite, what perspectives can I hold and choose that would actually hold the greatest possibility for me and all of humanity? So it's kind of a different than positive beliefs, right? Positive beliefs would have us in a zone of right or good, or this is, the secure thing or whatever. But holding a possibility that is big enough to actually be of greatest service to you and humanity and to source, that might be more like, wow, everything is made of abundance. I am made of abundance. God is abundant. And I receive that abundance on behalf of humanity receiving that abundance, right? So your beliefs kind of change to, wow, what is actually serving in the highest here? What perspective could I have that would actually honor God's potential? See how that's a different than a belief system?
Big time difference. I love it. And you referred to Source's infinite menu of possibility. And when you talk about referencing all of what is possible, are you then choosing from that what it is that your heart desires? Or is there a release to say, whatever is my highest good, come through me as me?
Well, I think both are applicable
Okay.
depending on kind of, where you're hanging out. So the question to give you guys is a really amazing tool. Probably for me, I sense one of the greatest tools that has ever entered onto planet Earth. What do I choose from Source's infinite menu here? Right? So when you ask that question, cool things happen. One is you're resourcing an infinite menu. So it's taking you out of belief systems and the ecosystem made of limited choices. I can either choose this or this. It's taking you out of that world and going into, wow, what do I choose from Source's infinite menu? And your heart begins to open, your mind begins to open, and you begin to get curious about what would God bring? What would God do? What would actually serve God, right? So, what do I choose from Source's infinite menu? And you start reaching for the highest, greatest, most infinite everything that you can even wrap your world around as a way to honor Source and to honor you, right? To not get stuck in this or that. So, when you look into what your heart desires, what if you could rearrange those heart's desires to actually reflect the goodness of Source, the infinite possibility of Source, the infinite love of Source? Because some people can think that their deepest heart's desire is to get that man or woman who's maybe married to somebody else, right? My deepest heart's desire is that they would leave them and just come and be with me. It's like, wait. I would say, let's rework that deepest heart's desire, right? So as you begin going, what would I choose from Source's infinite menu? You might go, okay, that there is something for me. There is someone for me. And God, Source, Universe, I open my heart and mind to actually receive what is in my highest and what is serving, the God in me in the highest. And it changes everything from kind of a belief system of outcomes that you're trying to manipulate and control to actually receiving from God, from self, from who you really are and what actually is, which is infinite possibility, and then infinite ways in which it shows up too. So it's, if you imagine consulting your ego that only draws information from the past, you're just going to end up with limitation if you consult that system, right? But when you're consulting God, God's going, well, I found a way. Well, I've got the divine intelligence to bring in instant remission. Oh, well, I know how to actually heal this relationship. Let me show you. Let me bring it in. Let me fill your heart with being blessed and loved. Let me bring this to you. So it's a whole different universe where you can actually utilize this power that's greater than us, that actually is us, right? Yet, how do we tap into it? How do we utilize it? How do we receive it? How do we be the greatest vessels of it as humans on earth? That's really kind of my my target.
And then that becomes a practice.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are practices that could help stay in this energy of recognizing that at any moment in time, in this now moment, we can choose to create from Source's infinite menu.
Yeah.
And what moves me to pick one thing, health or relationships or growth or success, doesn't really matter, but I can specify in the area of this choice of doing this work in the world, what's the highest good that could come to me? And then I listen, or do I specify what my highest good would look like to me? Is this, that, or the other thing?
Well, it depends on whether it's an outcome that's trying to be achieved exactly, right? Because if you look at that, even when I say that, I feel the energy contracting. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not just receiving it as a blessing from Source. And Source, what could you bring me that's even greater than anything I could ever imagine? So if you're going to specify, use that sentence at the end of your specification so that the energy remains open. This, and this, and universe, God, I realize that you are far more greater and far more infinite than I can imagine. So how could this turn out better than anything I could ever imagine? I give you my heart and mind and this manifestation, go for it, right? So you can specify as long as you open so that you receive infinite possibilities and don't end up blocking things, right?
Yeah.
Like if I had a judgment that I was meant to be with a blonde, blue-eyed, whatever, I actually wouldn't be with my current boyfriend. And he is lovely and gorgeous and amazing beyond all measure, right? So that's an example. If I had a manifestation paradigm of what I wanted based on outcome, I actually wouldn't be able to be with him.
Okay, so if I could put it in some vernacular that I use, I say, it's very important that we establish what our intention is, because that helps guide our energies through the day. And once I've specified that, then you're saying, in addition, open to the highest possibilities. One of my teachers said, what we then want to do once we've specified an intention or an outcome is to go to Source, to go, in his wording, consult with the pure imaginal realm that's bringing everything into manifestation, and say, and what should I know about this that can, as you say, take the glass ceiling off to possibilities that I might not, in the limitation of my own conscious belief system, be able to fully comprehend. So it's a dialogue with that place of expansion I love the way you say it. As soon as I specify an outcome, it already feels contracted. So if I can move to a place that opens me at the top, that would be the ideal way to establish a goal or establish an outcome.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then to add to it, the idea that holding my outcome or holding my intention up and saying, in the field of the infinite possibility, what more than this is attempting to come to me or is ready to be received by me? How would you phrase that?
So, stating your intentions, bringing your awareness into source, like you said, consulting with the divine. And there's actually, part of the manifestation process I feel that is serving all of us in the highest is actually the ability to give it over to source.
Mhm.
Now, if you look at receiving, right? People think that receiving is kind of repainting the wallpaper in their house. It's like it can be an actual lateral movement. You're like, oh, I asked for this and I received this. Okay. But if you look at if you're receiving and it's in the same energy zone, you're not actually receiving. There's not really receiving going on here. There's just the same energetic material that's being exchanged. So when we actually hand it over to Source and give Source our deepest heart's desire, our greatest heart's yes, and then we invite Source to do whatever Source would actually do with it,
Mhm.
it takes this energetic process of releasing that information, giving it to Source, and being able to almost not even track it as Source actually rearranges it into greater light, greater love, greater possibility. And it's almost like it begins coming back almost invisible, but it's way bigger and way juicier and way more blissful. So we can actually invite how sources transformed it into energies that are beyond what we've ever received. And then we can bring those back into our hearts and receive sources yes to us.
Mm.
So in the process with cancer, I realized that I was actually meditating with an ecosystem. So I was like, all right, heal me, heal me, heal me. We're going to heal and we're going to heal. We're going to heal. I was completely an outcome. And finally I was exhausted. I was like, "Oh my God, I can't do this. Like, I don't have the energy to do this version of meditation," which was actually kind of meditating with an ecosystem trying to reach an outcome. And I'm like, "God and the angels, can you like do it for me?" And all of a sudden I was like, "Oh my God, this is what receiving is. Oh, it's actually receiving from. Oh my God, it's being gifted to. It's not controlling, projecting, it's actually receiving from, right? So that's expanded into a whole nother universe of being able to use these energetic tools to actually receive from source
Mm.
and receive from beyond what the ego and your mind has received in the past.
Yeah, because if we have a belief of how it's supposed to show up,
Sure.
I know what healing is. Bring me
Yeah.
healing, bring me healing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Yep.
that was something that I became aware of. One of my very first teachers in human development, I met 5 years after she had a terminal diagnosis of a liver
Mm.
cancer, inoperative liver cancer, at that time in the late 60s, early 70s. She was satisfied to live with cancer, but use her mind to overcome the pain of the cancer that she was living with. She stayed with the diagnosis, but told them that they weren't allowed to tell her when she was going to die.
Mm.
And after she did pass, 7.5 years after the diagnosis, she had 2 months to live, 8 weeks, right? 2 months.
Mhm.
I realized, wow, she always was specifying living with the cancer, never being
Mm.
free of it. And so
Mm.
the work that you're talking about is such a paradigm shift, such a transformative way of thinking that I'm curious, once we're establishing the field of possibility, once we're entering into it and we're opening to receive it,
Mm.
do you also feel that there is something for us to do? Like, what's mine to do in this? Am I to hold
Mm.
space? Am I to practice this? Am I to eat this way or exercise that way? Is there also a participation, I guess,
I would say
beyond just
absolutely.
receiving, right?
Yes,
Passively.
yes,
Do
yes.
it to
And
me and that's what I'm curious about.
yeah, absolutely. So, we feel what our heart's greatest yes is, whether it's health or vitality or, abundance or an amazing partner. We feel that in our heart. And then we give our heart to source. And then as you give your heart to source, what the question I like to ask here is, I'm a yes to this source. So you're stating your full intentions. Like, this is my biggest, grandest yes that I can even imagine. Like, I'm a yes to my heart's wildest imaginings. And then we can ask the source, are you a yes to this? And then we begin receiving, oh my gosh, source is actually a yes to this, right? And so you're meeting your heart's yes with source's heart's yes, merging those yeses together and then receiving how everything in the universe is on your side for this. That beautiful relationship and heart expansion. That's a yes to God. God's like, "Oh my God, expand a human's heart? We'll do it." Right? That abundance, that flow, that whatever health. Source is like, "Oh my God, I'm a yes to that too." So then you're inviting source, which is what everything's made of, to actually join your yes and then be in congruency with that yes and be in receiving that everything is on your side. Now that gets the ego out of the way, which is fantastic. And so as we're actually receiving it, then we get to go, all right, source, anything today? And source or the angels are like, yeah, go take a walk. Or your body's like, I would like to go swim or, to fulfill those intentions, right? So, hey, put your profile up on this specific site. Like, we don't know what it is, but when we ask, is there anything I'm meant to do today? Source goes, how about this? And you go, okay. So everything's divinely guided, which saves you a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of work.
A lot of planning time, right?
That
Because
too.
show up and do what's mine to do. I
Yep.
really love it. But your approach, while it resonates with everything that I have studied and understand, there's still a freshness to it that is so delightful. So I really appreciate, Rikka, all of this, your ability to bring some of these important distinctions to humanity. And it seems so pure, so lovely. I just really thank you so much
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
all of the efforts that you went through to make all of this possible. Now, as we finish up, if you could offer an encouragement to our listener who knows that there is some area of their life which has a glass ceiling over it or is being limited by a belief that they may have, even though it may be a positive belief, to help them on a daily basis reconnect with this true energy, this source's infinite menu that's trying to reveal to them their highest good. What would you give as
Hmm.
a final encouragement on our podcast today?
Well, that question, what would I choose from Source's infinite menu, can bring you from a belief system and settling for a reality that is less than the source that you are, right? It can stop you from doing that and bring you into a connection with an infinite power and wisdom that's beyond what your past mind or ecosystem can represent, right? So, even asking that question, what do I choose from Source's infinite menu, will give you a sense, is this a belief or is it my chosen perspective? Because we want to begin living in, what do we choose? Really? And not only what do we choose from, like, I've decided that there's these three choices of limitations. I only have these three. No, hold on. What if I have more than that? So what do I choose so that I'm present and choosing from Source's infinite menu? Well, it's not this or that. It's actually all of us being loved, right? It's not this relationship or this person that's already in a relationship and it's not getting money from this person or that. What it's actually all of us being loved, being abundant, being healthy, being happy, and all of us praising this life, this miracle of life that we've been given. So, even by asking that question, it raises your consciousness out of belief systems and into what is your chosen perspective from an infinite menu. So, I mean, I would recommend putting that on post it notes, putting it on your mirror in your bathroom, your dry, all over your whole world and go, wow, what do I choose here from Source's infinite menu? And
Nice.
just by asking that question, you're also inviting what source, what God, how God would actually handle something, how God would be with it, the miracles that God would bring, the magic, the remission, the health, the vitality, the soulmate, you're inviting that presence that is greater than us in to actually receive who you really are and what's really possible here. So it's powerful. It's very powerful beyond all measure.
It really is. Thank you so much. And what a delight to have this time with you. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast.
Thank you. That was wonderful. You're amazing, Paul. Love you so much.
Virtual hugs. Bye for
Bye.
now. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Rikka Zimmerman. You can learn more about Rikka at rikkazimmerman.com. And now in the second part of the podcast, it's just you and me. I'll tell you how to use the Paraliminal sessions in the MINDTRX app to easily handle obstacles and move toward the success you want, especially as it relates to Rikka's message. If you're new to the relaxing Paraliminal audio sessions, they use breakthrough technologies to activate your whole mind in only 20 minutes to help improve any area of your life. Let's get going. Hello, welcome back. This is the opportunity to follow on to my dialogue with Rikka Zimmerman and our look at the power of beliefs and transcending those, actually moving beyond them. Her work to me is very intriguing. It's not unlike some authors and speakers whose work I've tracked on beliefs, but she takes a unique perspective, and I absolutely adored the kinds of ideas and the guidance that she was able to give. Now, to be able to really embody some of these ideas, paraliminal technology may be able to help quite a lot. So I've taken the dialogue that she and I had, and we're looking at 5 different areas. First, the area of moving beyond belief. The second is being able to choose from infinite possibility, or is what she referred to as Source's infinite menu. Beautiful idea. The third is to explore fear, hurt, and anger, not to shy away from them. The fourth area is the idea of practicing awareness along the ideas that Rikka was sharing with us. And then finally, how do we more effectively listen to Source, to be present and sensing the communication that Source is giving to us? So let's start in the first area, moving beyond belief. I have a paraliminal called Belief, where we take a look at how beliefs are formed. We look at a negative belief that we would like to have be different and how to establish a positive belief which would replace it in favor of something more life-enhancing. Now, as you listen to belief, essentially what you're training yourself to do is to recognize that you're the creator of all your beliefs. Beliefs are judgments, and judgments are always self-judgments. They're conclusions about the way the world works as we perceive it. The challenge that we have is perceiving that we're the one creating our beliefs and therefore creating the reality that we're living into. So belief actually takes you through a training protocol to see how you can establish something and make it more fluid, make it more choiceful. Ultimately, as Rikka was suggesting, is we're looking to have conscious choice about the life that we're choosing to live. I love it. It's powerful. And the belief paraliminal can help show you how that's possible. Will give you that, what I call requisite flexibility, that mental flexibility to recognize you ultimately are the one who determines how you view the life that you're living. The second area is choosing from infinite possibility. So if you're going to choose from infinite possibility, a good way to think about this is with the prosperity paraliminal, where here's the universe absolutely abundant. What is it that you're calling on? What is it that you're choosing to create? And knowing that the abundance of the universe is supporting you in doing exactly that. So you can choose from any area where you would like to experience more abundance. If we put it in the terminology that Rikka is talking about, what is the love that you want to bring in this area where you have been feeling separation up until now? Separation through fear, hurt, anger, whatever it is that's creating separation, fill it with the abundance, with the love, with source energy from the infinite menu. And remember that Rikka suggested that when you wake up in the morning, you ask yourself, how shall I choose from Source's infinite menu for the life I'm going to live today? And when you make that choice, then Prosperity Paraliminal will really help you envision and embody the selection that you're making. And as she said, always leave it open at the top. Now, the third area is exploring fear, hurt, and anger. Most of us would just as soon run away from those, right? But what she's suggesting is courageously step into it. The paraliminal called letting go is a great one that helps you practice that. It's one that I created with Hale Dwoskin based on the Sedona method. And in essence, what you're saying is, here is a feeling. Can I just welcome it? So a feeling of fear, can I just welcome it? And the thought of fear, could I just welcome it? The recognition of the separation that occurs, could I just welcome it? Could I stand in it? Could I welcome it? Could I recognize that it's me that's generating this sense of separation? Secondly, do it again, but this time for the idea of, what is the hurt that I have experienced in this area? And could I just welcome it? Could I see it? Could I invite it? Could I recognize it? And the third area is anger. What is it that I'm angry about? Could I just welcome that feeling? Could I welcome the thought that I've got to do something about it? Could I welcome the thought it's about me personally somehow? And could I then let it all go? It's a powerful, powerful process. But by focusing it around these three concepts that Rikka shared with us, I think it's a very powerful way to make a significant advancement in your life, in any place where you may be feeling separated from the true abundance and resourcefulness that God in the universe is here to bring to you. The fourth area is about practicing awareness. Remember at the end of the dialogue, I said, so what are the practices? What is it that we can do? The first paraliminal I'd recommend here is called conscious time. Similar to waking up with the sleep deeply, wake refreshed, it's really waking up with the choice of, how am I going to live my life today? Or as Rikka says, position your thinking with the idea of the infinite menu and what will I choose, knowing that the universe supports me lovingly in creating my life as I would choose to do so. So the conscious time paraliminal is a great one to practice that. The final area is the idea of listening to source. I asked her, I never really got to asking, is there a practice, a meditation practice, something? She did allude to it. I didn't pursue it at the time. It was a fleeting thought. I didn't dig into it deeper. But how do we structure a way to listen to source, to be present and sensing what source, what guidance is being offered me in this situation in my life? For what purpose? So that I can eliminate separation and come back to an awareness of my oneness with this power and presence that shaped the entire universe as I perceive it. So I'm thinking that the ideal one in this case, the ideal paraliminal, would be intuition amplifier. I believe that source, however you would define that, is always trying to communicate to us. Sometimes it will come as a gut feeling. Sometimes it will come as a sense feeling in my own heart. It might be coming to me as an image, a vision, a voice in my mind. But if I am attentive, that source is trying to communicate, to show me the best ways and means to realize the true intention that I've established to bring me to those higher expressions of my life, then I'm always getting that guidance. I simply need to attend to it. So, like all paraliminals, I always ask you to establish an intention at the front end. And once you've done that, Intuition Amplifier will help you notice the communications that are occurring throughout your day. So those are the 5 areas. Move beyond belief, choose from infinite possibility, explore fear, hurt, and anger, practice awareness, and listen to source. Enjoy the paraliminals. And when you think about this particular dialogue that I had with Rikka, it may be worth going back through it a few times, because a couple of times I was hanging on by my fingernails to try to track the significance of what it was that she was attempting to share with us. There are distinctions in what she's sharing that I don't hear from other people. It's really quite brilliant, beautiful. She's a luminous being and a real gift to us. So thanks very much for listening to this podcast, and I look forward to being with you again in the future. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me today. I applaud your willingness to maximize your potential. You can easily use the Paraliminal audio sessions in the MINDTRX app to stimulate your non-conscious mind, that is, your inner mind, to reduce any resistance in your life and to propel you toward the success you want. Go to www.mindtrax.com/go. These amazing audio tools have helped millions, and I encourage you to bring them into your world today. Be sure to be back for more episodes of the MINDTRX podcast. You'll find insightful conversations with authors, experts, and thought leaders, all devoted to improving your life's experience. Thank you again for being here on our MINDTRX podcast.